have 2 years left on their deals. In terms of centre mid options for this season, at the very least, people, it leaves us with Thomas Partey, who, you know, on the face of it, and these stars are here because obviously Aziz, for me, probably will get more of a look in now, or be the sort of Matt Smith or Joe Willock. He's on the bench and he's involved sort of thing. Odegaard, he can be played as an 8 and a 10, probably more exclusively Arteta's hoping for as a 10. But if push comes to shove, you know, these two will find their way. Now, obviously, Partey, we're playing a dangerous game because as good as he is, you know, only played 90 once. Now, is that an Arsenal thing? Because injuries weren't something you could say about Thomas Partey when he was at Atletico. So I don't know what it is, and hopefully he gets over it. But I'm looking at it. On the face of it, we should have a decent one here. But again, you know, something happens to Partey, you know, Xhaka, hot and cold. Again, Xhaka is going to play historically. So these two will play, if fit, they'll play the majority of games. You've got El Nene, who's on the bench. Ceballos isn't our player, but I'm trying to think of people who I want to see as pure midfielders. You know, these are obviously Odegaard and Smith Rowe can be used there and do well there. But when I say like you're actually centre midfielders, you're playing there. I know Ceballos is a bit like Smith Rowe and Odegaard to a degree, but this is the only people I see as actual centre mid proper options. I do think we could use Odegaard there depending on the game. Smith Rowe the same, but I think these are the ones. So you can see why Joe and potentially Maitland's gone. I might have kept Maitland again from a selfish point. It might have made sense to keep one of them because of depth. You know, Maitland-Niles, you know, I'm not critiquing letting Kolasinac go, but Kolasinac has gone. A natural left back hasn't been brought in. Obviously, you've got Tierney and Saka and Cedric. But again, if something happens, we've had a long season in terms of injuries. If something happens, we might be leaning on stuff. So it might have been worth keeping one of them, even though both needed to get game time. So these four will probably ensure that we're cool. Odegaard and Smith Rowe can be used there. And I'm keen to see Miguel Aziz, as I've previously said, get more minutes or being involved. I don't quite think he's ready for Premier League football consistently. I think he's got a lot to learn. I think people put him on a stature that he isn't yet. I think defensively and positionally, he will struggle the most. You know, he's got it in terms of passing and all that stuff. Miguel Aziz has it. He needs to get a bit up to date physically. I think he needs to assert himself at 23's level a tiny bit more consistently. And I think defensively, he needs to improve because there's a couple of times he's been very lax, but he's 18. I think he's going to be ready. And I think he is going to have a future at Arsenal, but it's down to him. And I think one thing, you know, when one door shuts for two Haaland players, a door opens for another. As I said previously, bare players here are contracted until 22/23, so decisions have to be made. Joe Willock, there's no immediate rush on his future, but contracted until 2022. You're gonna have to reach a conclusion on him, people. You know, Lucas Torreira again, and if I'm going to get into the January business more so in a second, people, but again, Torreira was one where if you're looking at it, there's still question marks. You know, there was talk of been in the Atletico loan and returning to Arsenal. It didn't happen. So again, these are all futures that are still up for speculation. And I don't think all of these players are going to leave, but we need to, you know, we need to lock it down. So if I'm Maitland and I prove myself in midfield in Joe, you might beat Guendouzi to it. Because admittedly, I'd probably want to keep 3 of the 4 out of this, but it's unrealistic. You know, the Haaland boys, we're cheering them on. Small hope Guendouzi and Arteta can bless the beef, but he's probably gone. Torreira's probably gone. Maitland and Joe might be gone. It's probably naive to expect 4 man to leave, you know, even potentially 5 man to leave. You know, the Haaland boys could potentially stay, but if Maitland plays well and puts himself in the shop window, Arsenal might say, like Martinez, let's go and get some peas. Obviously, I think Torreira and Guendouzi are gone. I do think the club will keep Joe, and it will only take a sort of serious offer to let him go. I think he's the one they would keep instead of Maitland and him. It'd be Maitland for me. Ideally, you know, El Nene could probably see out his contract for the last year and be a body in terms of depth, but he probably needs to leave. And if, ironically, you know, all of these midfielders, I think, like I said, I think it's naive to think they're all going to leave in the summer, but there's speculation over all of them. We need a midfielder. You know, you look at it now, people, you know, El Nene, based on his contract, keep it moving. Guendouzi and Torreira probably the same. Decisions have to be made whether you're going to extend or sell Maitland-Niles or Joe Willock. Ceballos and Odegaard are loaned players, so they're not ours really and truly. So we can't really even factor them in. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer, people, really. And even, you know, Xhaka, it looks like he's turned a corner, but every so often he's linked with a move away and things like that as well, people. So make of that what you will. Apologies.